Good morning, everyone. I'm Marlene Bottenfield, and I will be the platform assistant today for Claire Palmerino. And good morning, our live stream family. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate all your vital energy that you bring with you to our service. Is there anyone here for the first time? Okay. Our chaplain, Carly, will pass out welcome packets to you. Was there anyone else? Thank you, Carly. Carly is our prayer chaplain for today, and she will be available after the service. Making two lefts, you can find her in the chapel. Wow, my voice just changed. We also have the Unity Prayer, where they pray for you for 30 days if you have a need, and you can call that number or access it through our webpage. And we have our Circle of Healing Prayer that's available. There's a little box right outside the door here where you can sign up for help with praying for whatever's on your mind. And there's also this little heart here where you can put your prayer. So we'll begin today by lighting the Christ candle. With gratitude, we gather as the unique expression of the divine presence we are. We pause to feel into this life force that invites us to be a creative partner with it. We now allow it to fully embody within our whole being. We also sense and feel the connection that exists between each one of us, the universal web of intelligence that we partake in as the human race. As we appreciate our web of connectivity with one and all, moving from a me to a we focus, we express our desire to unite with all humanity through the energy of compassion and kindness. We invite this energy to now rise up within us while extending outward to connect with Mother Earth and all sentient beings. This uniting spirit of oneness, of the one I am presence, we call the Christ. We light this candle now as a reminder that we are all blessed by being part of this one presence. It is the truth. Let us own it and make it real in our lives. So our opening song today is You've Got a Light with Ariella and Drew.
You got a light, you got a light, and it's shining out for everyone to see. You got a light, You got light, and it's shining out for everyone to see. By some kind of miracle, now I feel that light in me. You got love, you got love, and it's shining out for everyone to see. You got love, you got love, and it's shining out for everyone to see. By some kind of miracle, now I feel that love in me. You got a joy running through you now that just can't be denied. You got a spirit like a firecracker lighting up the sky. You got a power, you got a power, and it's shining out for everyone to see. You got a power, you got a power, and it's shining out for everyone to see. By some kind of miracle, now I feel that power in me. You got a joy running through you now that just can't be denied. You got a spirit like a firecracker lighting up the sky. You got a light, you got a light, and it's shining out for everyone to see. You got a light, you got a light, and it's shining out for everyone to see. By some kind of miracle, now I feel that light in me. I feel that love in me. I feel that joy in me. I feel that power in me. Thank you.
Remain standing and greet your neighbor with a hug or namaste or handshake.
Way better than I was thinking we would be yesterday. Oh, and yesterday morning when I was working, I was like, oh my God, am I going to be able to pull this off? And then last night after I worked on it a little bit, it was like, it was just there. It's funny. Hey, Dad. Hey, buddy. Come right in. Your mom's here. Can't wait to meet her. You met her 30 years ago. 30 years ago? She came so much. Oh, it's been a long time. What's that?
Just check.
I think I was loving for Peace Corps.
Oh.
I don't know what it was.
I really didn't want to stop all the wonderful, buzzing energy, happy, joyful, light-filled energy in this room. Can't hear me.
Oh, you turned on?
Am I turned on? Yeah, am I turned on? Alrighty then. Well, good morning. My name is Claire Palmerino, and I've been a member here for a long time. And for those of you that are here for the first time, I'm actually a pinch hitter. Reverend Jerry, our beloved minister, is a little under the weather, and so we're giving him some space to rest and recuperate from what turned out to be a really bad cold or flu. So I get to do the invocation this morning, which is that part of our service that sort of sets the tone or theme for our time together today. And so I want to introduce the topic of finding good in whatever arises in our lives. Now, I'm sure all of us can look back to an event or an experience that at the time felt terrible. It felt frightening or discouraging or aggravating or disappointing. I mean, there was some event that just did not feel good. But in hindsight, we could look back and see, oh, good came from that. And I'm going to give you an example. Actually, my dear departed husband popped this into my mind yesterday, and I said, yeah, that was a good idea. And so, so I'm going to share this little story from our life together. It was back in July of 1975. I was 23 years old, ready for the world. And my mother called and said, come quick, your dad's had a heart attack. So of course I rushed home to my mother, and the two of us drove to the hospital where he had been admitted to the coronary care unit. Well, on that same day, earlier that day, another father had had a heart attack. And he was admitted to the coronary care unit at that same hospital. And in the waiting room sat his wife and son. Are you ahead of me? That was the day I met the love of my life, Jay. My father-in-law used to love to say what I had to go through to get a daughter-in-law. Now that's a fun example of a situation that at the time felt scary, felt, certainly anything but comfortable and happy, but so much wonder and good and love flowed from that, what I call divine appointment or meeting. So my guess is that many of you could share a similar story, that you could look back at some event and see the good that came from it. But the question I pose to us today is, how often do we trust this outcome, this good, in the midst of the adversity when it arises? It's one thing to find it in hindsight, but are we able to trust in the moment of the challenge? So a few years ago, I was in a place of uncertainty and loss. My dear husband of many years was experiencing cognitive and physical challenges that created more or less constant change in our life together, in our relationship, and in our activities. I was frightened by the changes. I was saddened by the losses, and I certainly did not welcome any of them. But sometime into the bigger experience, while here at Sunday service at Unity, sitting over there where Jay and I usually sat, a prayer formed spontaneously in my heart. Now, I did not sit down to intentionally pray. I didn't go, how shall I pray for this? There was no intention to prayer. There was no actively trying to pray. The words just formed in my heart and mind. And these are the words that echoed through me. I gather all my sadness and sorrows and place them on the altar of my heart. I welcome the divine light within me to shine upon them and transform them into the gifts I trust they bring. This prayer asked me to trust in the face of frightening changes. It asked me to trust that gifts were present, and when the time was right, I would see them. Now, often it's easy to see the gifts hidden in difficulties or challenges using that hindsight. But this prayer invited me to trust that they were there in the midst of the difficulty. So again, I ask us a question together. I ask, are we willing to embrace there is a possibility for good in everything we experience? It does take willingness. It takes allowance. And it takes trust. Trust that we are children of a benevolent God that is always unfolding our highest and best good, even when appearances are quite the contrary. So I want to say this prayer one more time. Listen with your heart. I gather all of my sadness and sorrows and place them on the altar of my heart. I welcome the divine light within me to shine upon them and transform them into the gifts I trust they bring. And now it is time for the daily word. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was time for the prayer list. You've got a rookie working here. So I'd like us to come together and set the intention that as each name is read on our prayer list, that that person is bathed in love and that their highest good comes to them. So we have on our prayer list Reverend Jerry Farrell, Julie Rushing, Ann Merrill, Daria Boninger, Kia Hatch, Paul Spoto, Georgia Sheely, Heidi Klopfer, Gail Smullen, Gayatri, Joanne Stykes, Janet Leone, Jennifer Wright, Darren Samarco. We pray for healing and peace in our world, for our future ministry, and may we remember the whole of love empowered in our prayers. And so together we pray. There is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as our lives, the all-loving goodness of God, and all is well. So now it's time for the daily word.
That was a beautiful invocation. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the daily word for today. I am. I am a living expression of God. In the book of Exodus, Moses asks God his name. God responds, I am who I am. I am is the name of the divine presence within me and you. It is a reminder of our spiritual nature. Sometimes I may forget my divine identity by thinking of myself as weak, incapable, or unfortunate. If I have spoken disempowering words about myself, I release those thoughts and stop using those words. Each time I say, I am, I strengthen my awareness of the truth of my being. I am God's life, love, wisdom, and strength expressing uniquely as me. As I pay attention to my thoughts and words, I am able to recognize and release limiting thoughts more quickly. My awareness of my true identity grows stronger and stronger. And from Matthew 16:15, he said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Let's say it together. I am. My meditation for today is not one that I wrote myself. It's from the Center of Action and Contemplation that Richard Rohr started many years ago. And this is from Brian McLaren. He shares his vision of a restored earth where humans live equitably with the earth, other humans, and the more than human world. Here is his meditation. This is my dream, and perhaps it is your dream, and our dream together. That in this time of turbulence, when worlds are falling apart, all of us with willing hearts can come together. Together with one another, poor and rich, whatever our race or gender, wherever we live, whatever our religion or education. I dream that some of us, maybe even enough of us, will come together not only in a circle of shared humanity, but in a sphere as big as the whole earth, to rediscover ourselves as Earth's multicolored, multicultured children, members of Team Earth. We dream that the wisdom of indigenous people, the wisdom of St. Francis and St. Claire, and the Buddha and Jesus, the wisdom of climate scientists and ecologists, and spiritual visionaries from all faiths will be welcomed into every heart. Then we will look across this planet and see not economic resources, but our sacred relations. Brother Dolphin and Sister Humpback Whale swimming in our majestic indigo oceans, with Sister Gull and Brother Bird soaring above them beneath the deep blue sky. We will see all land as holy land and walk reverently in the presence of Sister Meadow and Brother Forest, feeling our kinship with Brother Bald Eagle and Sister Box Turtle, Sister Song Sparrow and Brother Swallowtail Butterfly, all our relations. In our dream, the reverence we feel when we enter the most beautiful cathedral will feel equally among mountains in autumn, beside marshes in spring, surrounded by snow-covered prairies in winter and along meandering streams in summer. In our dream, even in our cities, we will look up in wonder at the sky. And a marriage between science and spirit will allow us to marvel at the sacredness of sunlight, the wonder of wind, the refreshment of rain, the rhythm of seasons. At each meal, we will feel deep connection to the fields and orchards and rivers and farms where our food is grown. And we will feel deep connection to the farmers and farm workers whose hands tend the soil so we can eat this day with gratitude and joy. In our dream, our life-giving connection to each other and to the living earth will be fundamental, central, and sacred. And everything else, from economies to governments, to schools, to religion, will be renegotiated to flow from that fundamental connection of love. In our dream, we will know God not as separate from creation, but as the living light and holy energy we encounter in and through creation, embodied, incarnated in the current and the flow of past, present, and future, known most intimately in the energy of love. Bring yourself gently back to the room now, and you can either join in or listen in this prayerful state as Drew and Ariella sing Blessings to the World.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we
Okay. The time is here. I have very eloquent words written on these pages. I hope that I can find some of them. The title of my talk today is Sacred Moments and Lessons Learned. I feel like I need to kind of set the stage for this talk, because many of you know the things that have transpired in my life for the last couple of years, but many of you do not. So let me start by telling you that my dear husband Jay died last year. And so today I want to reflect on some of the lessons I've extracted from this time of letting go of that dear one who walked steadfastly by my side for 46 years. I also want to share with you some of the sacred and meaningful experiences that we had in the months prior to his passing and even after. So like I said, some of you don't know the path that we walked, so I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. Jay was diagnosed with atypical Parkinson's in July of 2022. And the symptoms leading up to that diagnosis were subtle at first, but as time went on, they became increasingly more apparent to those around him. And so Jay was experiencing definite cognitive impairment, and this is going to fall, cognitive impairment, and the neurological changes were also impacting him physically as well. So the changes intensified over the fall of 2022, and by February 2023, he was undeniably in a state of dementia. And the type of dementia was probably Lewy body dementia. He was admitted to hospice in April of 2023 and passed away on September 22nd last year. Before I delve into kind of the meat of this message, I just want to speak for just a moment about the experience of becoming a caregiver. It doesn't happen overnight. The transition from spouse, lover, friend to caregiver happens almost imperceptibly. You notice that he's struggling calculating the tip at the restaurant, so you begin handing the card to the server before he gets his card out to save him that embarrassment. You react with horror as he's starting to drive erratically, so you begin to offer to drive more and more until you're doing all of the driving. Paying the bills becomes overwhelming, so you sit beside him and do the bills together until you're doing them on your own. He can no longer follow the plot of a movie, so we find short videos that he can enjoy. Whereas once you cooked and cleaned together as you're hosting friends for dinner, now you do it all. I think you get the picture. It's a slow progression. As Jay became, excuse me, as he became more and more limited by his disease, the adjustments to the change came faster and faster. It was hard to keep up, and I have to tell you that I was tempted to fall into despair. Had I not been anchored in the incredible teachings here at Unity in the Gold Country. I became a member here about 8 years ago. And the teaching, the book studies, the work that I have been doing as a result of being exposed to these things served me so well. So I just wanted to put that out there, that there's good stuff here, folks. And despite the sadness and the difficulty of my situation, I want to acknowledge several factors that made my experience easier than many, if not most, others, spouses who are caring for a loved one who is ill, whether that be illness due to cancer or, thank you, Leslie, cancer, immune disease, dementia. So what were those factors? Well, the first was that I had tremendous support from my family and from my community here at Unity in the Gold Country. Jay and I had 3 children, a daughter who lives in Southern California, and while she could not be here present, physically present with us, she was a good listener on the phone. She offered wonderful advice, from her experience as a nurse and a hospice nurse at that. Our 2 sons, amazingly, moved in with us. My youngest son, Greg, gave up employment, did not work, and side by side with me, he became a full-time caregiver. My other son, Joe, transferred to Sacramento, moved in with us, and he commuted to Sacramento an hour, each way, but then he was available to us on weekends, and he could give Greg and me some respite. So that was incredible support that I acknowledge most people don't have. And then the community here was phenomenal in terms of prayer support, offers of help, just visits and phone calls. I was so supported, and I'm eternally grateful for all of you. The second factor that made things easier for me than it might be for many people is that despite the dementia, Jay remained the kind, warm, and gentle man that he had always been. So often dementia steals that aspect of people, and I was very fortunate. He remained calm and had equanimity in the face of difficult times. I missed his smile. I grieved over the loss of his smile and laughter. I mourned over the loss of our physical intimacy. But I still had the essence of him. And third, we had wonderful support from the Hospice of the Foothills. At the time, I thought perhaps we had called upon them too early, but the fact is, they came at just the right time, and it was such a blessing to have their help. So today I want to share some of the lessons that I learned as I faced our rapidly changing situation. And the first one I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because I feel that you already know this and there's so much written about it, but the power of prayer. Oh my goodness. That last summer of Jay's life, we took one final family vacation to Hawaii. We went to the island of Kauai, his favorite island. But while we were there, I got very sick. And then Jay got sick, and Angela got sick. So by the time we were ready to fly home, we were still very much recovering. We were not well. And so I called out to my friends here at Unity, and I said, please pray us home. And wow, did they ever. I mean, I could spend my entire talk talking about the miracles that took place on that trip from Kauai back to Sacramento to Grass Valley. It was phenomenal. So I just want to shout out to my friends who prayed us home and say thank you. I will never forget it. Okay, so moving on to the next lesson. This is a lesson in learning to shift my perspective. One of our core study groups here at Unity in the Gold Country is the Way of Mastery, and I've done the Way of Mastery 3 or 4 times. And one of the core teachings in the Way of Mastery is that all events are neutral. Now, the first time I heard that, I said, no way. Come on. I can think of plenty of things that aren't neutral, right? But the teaching is a little deeper. It says the event is neutral. It's how you choose to respond to it that brings an emotional charge. The event is neutral. So it's our reaction that determines the emotional charge. And it's always in our purview to choose differently, to change the way we respond to it. So I became intensely aware of this in the last year of Jay's life, because again and again I found myself confronted with recurring irritation and frustration. I mean, let's get real, folks. Living with someone with dementia is really weird. And you can do the same thing every day, and then all of a sudden it's all different. So I learned to ask sooner rather than later, how can I see this differently? How can I change the way I see this? So I'm going to give you a really simple example, but it can apply to so many other aspects of life. So around the fall of 2022, Jay was experiencing increased anxiety. And at night, he would wake up with significant anxiety, and he would describe it as this restless energy in my solar plexus. And the only thing that would relieve it would be to get up and walk around. Well, at first, this was no problem for me. I just slept through it. Okay? He would have 2 or 3 forays during the night, and I was hardly aware of it. But then as the physical changes became more significant, he was finding it more and more difficult to get himself into bed. We have kind of a high bed, thick mattress, and it's on a high platform. He just didn't have the strength to get into bed. So I began boosting him into bed. So now, every time he got up, so did I, because I had to help him back into bed. And I became aware of these kinds of thoughts. Why can't you just stay in bed? He's getting up again? And I was really getting irritable about this. So I became aware of it. And I went within and I said, how can I see this differently? And surprisingly, the answer came immediately. You see, I had an expectation that when I went to bed, I would get up the following morning. My expectation was that I would stay in bed all night. Well, that wasn't happening, and since that was contrary to my expectation, it was becoming an irritation. So what's the simple solution? How do you see it differently? You change your expectation. I said, okay, I no longer expect to get up during the night. I will expect and anticipate that 2 or 3 times a night I will be getting up to help Jay get into bed. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Let's see. Well, how did it work? It worked like a charm. It was a miracle, really. I mean, I just never had an irritating moment again because he was waking me up again and again during the night. Okay, so honestly, I wasn't going to share this next bit, but as I was working on this talk yesterday, Jay came in and he said, yeah, you got to tell that too. So with Jay's permission, because I don't really want to tell it, but with Jay's permission, here goes. It was our second night home after returning from Hawaii. Now remember, that return trip from Hawaii, we were still sick, we were recovering, we were exhausted, we got home after midnight, so the next day we were still pretty exhausted as well. And when I went to bed that next night, I fell sound asleep until about 2 in the morning. And then I woke up to the sound of Jay urinating in the dog bed. Now, I wish that I had taken a pause, but I didn't. I jumped out of bed and I began screaming at him, stop, stop, stop. But you can't stop it once it starts. It finally stopped. But then I started yelling, Jay, you're killing me. You are killing me. You are killing me. Not my best moment. You are killing me. Jay got very quiet, got very calm, and he said, Claire, you're always saying you get to choose how you respond. You can see why he wanted me to tell that story. Oh my goodness. So I hope that you can take that gem, that idea that I can shift my perspective. And in counseling terms, it's reframing something. And when we reframe, we have different responses. It's a beautiful hack of life. The next lesson that really became reinforced for me was this. Life does not happen to me, life happens for me. Life doesn't happen to me, life happens for me. Now, I'm not sure where I first heard this. I know that many of you have been reading the book by Mary O'Malley, What's in the Way is the Way, and I think she talks about it in that book. But I read that book after Jay died, so I don't know where I heard it first, and it doesn't matter. But this became a mantra for me. It was a place to return to again and again, to remind myself that I was not a victim of what was happening. If I think that life happens to me, then I become the victim of random events, of unlucky circumstances and unfortunate setbacks. I become the victim. But the way of mastery teaches us that we are never victims. We are never victims. When I believe and know that life happens for me, then I can experience those unhappy, uncomfortable, painful circumstances, not as a victim with an attitude of, oh, poor me, but as a student. I encounter these experiences as a student. What can I learn from this experience? How is this an opportunity for me to grow? I think you'll agree with me, growth is rarely comfortable, right? It almost always is uncomfortable, if not downright painful. And if I run away from growth and resist it with all my might, what happens? I only intensify the discomfort and delay the growth. So, seeing difficult circumstances in the midst of them as an opportunity to grow became very, very in the forefront of my mind. Now, to embrace this perspective, one does need to trust that the universe, source, Mother, Father, God, whatever you want to call that great consciousness, Mother, Father, God is always benevolent and always unfolding my highest and best good. That's something that you really need to embrace in order to embrace this idea that life happens for me. Well, let me tell you how this peace-giving approach to life impacted me, impacted my experience of this. Well, first, I want to say what it didn't do. Okay, it did not spare me from sadness or make me oblivious to the losses that occurred week upon week. It was heartbreaking to watch my intelligent, capable, competent husband struggle to put on a shirt, struggle to figure out what orientation the holes needed to be in to get the shirt upon his back. I grieved his smile. I cried over the loss of his humor. Embracing this truth did not transport me to La La Land where everything was hunky-dory. That's what it didn't do. But how did it help? Well, seeing this experience as an opportunity to grow lessened the grip of such thoughts as, poor me, poor Jay, this is unfair, why is this happening? It helped me to allow the experience to simply unfold. I came to understand that it wasn't my job to fix it. It was my job to manage it. And then I was able to let it be as it was going to be. I think it's a Buddhist teaching that says the root of all suffering is resistance to what is. And that's kind of another way to think about this. And so the less I resisted the changes, the more curious and less alarmed I became as Jay's reality increasingly diverged from mine. So, as Jay's dementia deepened, life became simultaneously more mystifying and more mystical. It was mystifying or confusing in that on the surface, his words, his statements, his questions didn't make immediate sense. Not all the time. A lot of the time, he was really with me and was interacting in the same reality. But much of the time, we were not in the same place. It was mystical in that I came to understand that it was as if his soul was communicating with me. And I almost had to learn to look deeper and decode what he was saying. So I want to share a few of these, what I call sacred moments with you. Now, some of you have heard these, but I think they're worth repeating. So early in Jay's dementia, our home, did I do that? Our home just didn't feel right. It felt foreign to him. He could say, yeah, this is where I live, this is my home, but it didn't feel like his home. He often referred to our house as this facility. What are they charging us for breakfast at this facility? One day he said to me, so, we were just chatting in the living room. He said, so, are you the only one on staff today? I said, yeah, pretty much. Most of the time he knew and understood our relationship, but there are times when he didn't. And this feeling that the house was foreign continued unto the end. One night, he was restless. This was after he went on hospice, so he had a hospital bed. He was restless and he just couldn't get back to sleep. So I sat down in the chair next to his bed and we were just chatting. I was just trying to hold a conversation to help relax and soothe him. And out of the blue, he said, or he asked, so, what floor are we on? And I said, well, sweetheart, we're on the first floor. Now, we have a ranch-style house, so there isn't an upstairs and downstairs. So, sweetheart, we're on the first floor. And he said, oh, well, I need to go to the 7th floor. Now, I can hear from the response, you already know where I'm going with this. I understood he was not just a dementia patient speaking nonsense. He was talking about moving on, moving to the 7th floor. And so I said, Jay, when it's time for you to go to the 7th floor, you will know what to do. And when you get there, there is going to be such a celebration waiting for you. Your mom and your dad, your aunts and uncles, everybody that you love in spirit will be there to welcome you home. There's going to be such a party. And this reply soothed him, and he fell asleep soon after while I stayed awake to ponder the mystery. Now, Jay often asked when he could go home and how would he get home. He asked this again and again throughout the weeks and the months preceding his death. And as I look back, it's not hard to see this as a metaphor for returning to spirit. It doesn't take a big leap. I think we can all see that. And I really wonder if his soul wasn't preparing me for his departure. I really thought that I had another 2 or 3 years with him. His passing so suddenly came as a huge shock to me. And now I look back and I think, well, maybe I shouldn't have been so shocked. He had been telling me all along. His passing was both expected and a surprise. He started falling, and on Thursday, September 14th, he fell, and we didn't realize it at the time, but it was the last time he would fall because my son helped him into bed, and he never got out of bed again. He died about 8 days later. But the day before that fall, on Wednesday, if he asked me once, he asked me 10 times, a dozen times, can we just go home? Come on, Claire, let's get our stuff and pack it into the car and let's go. Let's go home. Some version of that question or statement again and again, not only to me, but to our son, Greg. His soul was desperately trying to tell us, it's time for us to go. We realized Jay was actively dying on Friday, September 15th. And so I called my daughter. She drove up the next day. My son Joe took family leave. And with the help of hospice, the 4 of us cared for Jay throughout the days that followed. And during that time, it was difficult to know just how much he understood. When Angela arrived and I said, sweetheart, Angela's here, I could tell that he understood because he was trying to respond, but he just didn't have access to the words any longer. But we all talked to him as if he understood, and we did our best to keep him comfortable. Now, I truly think that he was out of his body a good deal of this time. So often, people with near-death experiences talk about rising out of their body and watching from sort of the corner of the room or the ceiling. And I can't prove this to anybody. I have no evidence of it, and maybe it just comforts me, but I think he was out of his body and absolutely aware of everything that was being said and what was going on. We all gave him permission to die in our own ways. And my way was to say to him, I've said it to him several times throughout the days preceding his death. I said, Jay, we all love you so much, we're willing to set you free. None of us would hold on to him. We wanted him to know that he was free to go. And you may recognize that. I took that from a Rumi quote that says, the one who loves you sets you free. Well, that morning of the day he died, I was standing in the kitchen, and I heard him so clearly in my mind. And he said, Claire, I love you enough to set you free. I love you enough to set you free. That was in the morning, and at 12:11, he gently took his last breath, surrounded by his loved ones, at home, just the way he had hoped. Interestingly, he died at 12:11 in the afternoon, and that is his birth date, backwards. He was born on 11/21. Since Jay died, I've had a few signs of his presence. Nothing particularly evidential. I couldn't prove it in a court of law, but I know them to be true. I clearly felt his presence one night. A group of friends had gathered in our home to play cards. And we're sitting around our typical round table, playing some cards, and I felt his presence move into my energy field. And I recognized him instantly. And I said to everybody, Jay's here. And of course, everyone's like, hi, Jay, good luck, good job, you know. We had a great time. I asked him if he'd help me win the game, but he said, Claire, that wouldn't be right. So typical of Jay. I think he was just checking in on all of us. One morning, following a meditation, I decided I was going to write him a letter. So I sat down with my tablet and a pen, and I started writing, Dear Jay, it's been 5 months since you passed, and I miss you so much. And I wrote about a paragraph when all of a sudden I heard his response in my mind. So I wrote that down. And then I asked him a question, and he answered me, and we went on and on for 2 or 3 pages. It was incredible. And I'll just share with you a little bit of it. One of the questions I asked was, because I was really curious about this, I said, Jay, what did it feel like to die? And he said, oh my gosh, it was so easy. It was so easy, and it felt so good. It was really a wonderful, what started out as a letter became a correspondence, basically. It was wonderful. It was amazing. And I want to finish by sharing with you a poem that Jay and I wrote together after he died. Now, I'm not a poet. Jay was not a poet. Neither one of us had ever written a poem in our lives, okay? But how this happened was I began to hear the first line of the poem in my mind over and over again. It just wouldn't leave me alone. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just write it down. Well, as soon as I wrote that first line, the next line came. And then the next line came. And the next line came. And within 10 minutes, the entire poem was written. So I'm going to read it to you now, unedited. It's not Emily Dickinson quality, but it means the world to me. Claire calls out, the love of my life has gone away, and yet he is so very near. The love of my life fell silent, and yet he whispers in my ear. The love of my life left me behind, and yet he remains right now, right here. Jay calls back, dear love of my life, I am not gone. You feel my love each day that starts. Dear love of my life, my voice you hear. Just listen, listen with your heart. Dear love of my life, I could never leave you. Our hearts entwine forever, never to part. So thank you for listening. Thank you for this opportunity to share my experiences. It's been a healing process for me to do this. Thank you. I love you too.
Well, I'm in tears. It was beautiful.
Oh, so now it's time for the prayer offering, the love offering. Again, I'm a rookie, so you have to forgive my bumbling. So during this time, as we acknowledge that all that we have comes from Source, let us say our giving prayer together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. So I invite the ushers to come forward while we listen to a special song.
I just want to add one thing. Thank you, Claire. That was absolutely lovely. We all love TJ too, and that it's nice to know that he's still around. And
Yeah.
this song kind of speaks more to everything that's going on in the world right now. And I just like to remind us and myself that the world is a reflection of our own thinking and our own thoughts. And so this song kind of speaks to that.
Sorry. I forgot I had it on.
It should be muted. You've all heard this.
Now I've been happy lately, thinking about the good things to come. And I believe it could be something good has begun. Oh, I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the world as one. And I believe it could be someday it's gonna come. 'Cause out on the edge of darkness, there rides a peace train, take this country, come and take me home again. And I've been smiling lately, thinking about the good things to come. And I believe it could be something good has begun. Oh, peace train sounding louder, glide on the peace train. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Come on the peace train. Oh, peace train, holy roller, everyone jump on the peace train. Ooh, ah, ah, come on the peace train. Get your bags together, come bring your friends too, 'cause it's getting nearer, soon it will be with you. Now come and join the living, it's not so far from you. And it's getting nearer, soon it will be with you. Oh, peace train sounding louder, glide on the peace train. Ooh, ah, come on the peace train, peace train. Ooh, peace train, holy roll the, everyone jump on the peace train. Ooh, ah, ee, ah, come on the peace train. Come on the peace train. Get on the peace train.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have blessed these gifts in our heart, and may it be used for unity in the Gold Country and unity worldwide. Thank you, God.
So we have a few announcements to make. The first one is just an update on how our minister search is going. And we did Zoom interview 3 applicants last week. And of those 3, we have invited one to come and spend a weekend with us in June. So look forward to that in June. And we've also received a 4th application that we're going to be reviewing shortly. So summer solstice is coming up on June 20th, and we are going to celebrate it at the Roth Estate. So save that date. We're going to have fun. There'll be a picnic, and you'll bring your chairs, and we'll sit and listen to Angelica play her beautiful music and speak to us about the solstice. The energy healing clinics are going to be getting, or the practitioners are going to be getting together on Sunday, June 9th. They give 40-minute sessions at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock, and the love offering is a suggested $20. If you're interested in signing up, please talk with Christy. Her phone number's right up there. Dana Perkins Applington was a longtime resident or member of UGC, and she passed away suddenly in March. She was a blessing in how she organized our community service for the Habitat for Humanity luncheons. And her sons, Gabe and Jordan, are inviting you to attend the celebration of life for their mother. It'll be at Pioneer Park on May 25th from 2 to 4. And then with Reverend Bodie B., we'll be exploring the choice to end one's life. So if you've been curious about that at all, about for your own life or someone you love, and you've had questions and concerns, might be good for you to check it out. It's on Friday, May 31st from 7 to 9, and that will also be a love offering. And then Mukti is coming to spend an evening with us embracing the human experience on liberation and incarnation. That'll be on June 14th from 6 to 8, and tickets are $30. We have a really, really busy June. On June 9th, we have our service auction, and it will be occurring immediately after the service, but we'll also be posting the offerings both online and in the back of the sanctuary the 2 weeks beforehand for you to peruse and think about bidding on. And then I would like to thank our volunteers for this Sunday, the 19th. First, let's give Claire a really big thank you. And then I think I jumped in to be platform assistant because Claire could no longer be it since she was giving the talk. And then we have Drew and Ariella, our musicians. And the greeters were Mary and Carly, and the ushers, Judy and Bonnie. The chaplain is Carly. Hospitality is Mary Jo, Kim and Marge Florence. Sound is Tom. Live stream is Leslie. Gift shop is Jeannie, and the altar was done by Sydney. She always does such a beautiful job. And then I want to just take a moment and thank the people who come out and help with the garden so that we can bring you these goodies. There are a lot of, I'm not sure if I can remember everybody's name right off the top of my head, but there's Mary Jo and Marge and Yvonne and Lori and Sue and Anne and Heidi and me. I put the most effort in. So thank you. And let me see what the next page says. Aha, Unity Prayer.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, because I am, and all is well.
Love be with you, peace unfold you, spirit lift you, breathe it in. Truth unfold you, make good flow to you, let joy renew till we meet again. Love be with you. Love be with you. Love be with you. Love be with you. All together, hand in hand, we see the light, we take a stand. We are changing. Holy life for you and me. Take your passion, set it free. Share this blessing. Love be with you. Peace unfold you. Spirit lift you. Breathe it in. Breathe come through you. Make good flow to you. Let joy renew you till we meet again. Love be with you. 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 Peace unfold you. Spirit lift you. Breathe it in. Truth unfold you. May good flow to you. Let joy renew you till we meet again. Till we meet again. Thank you. Love be with you.
You did it.
Oh, I'm on again.
That was fun.
I'm glad she's a wonderful lady.
When's your birthday?